Charles, there seem to be an awful lot of indicators that the dumbest man to ever hold the office of president is about to be shown the door. How are you today, Charles?
Great, Jason. I think he has been shown the door, and I think we see. You are very good at recognizing patterns, and I think we both noticed a pattern with Biden that when he gets negative news, his reaction is to double and triple down and to just disagree. And he is the defiant dummy who,
It's
and
like a
history,
superhero.
right? Exactly. Maybe we need to go down that alley, but yeah,
Yeah.
he really is pathetic. And it's one thing to get into domestic politics and say he's a fake progressive. He is a fake progressive and a dumb moderate, you know, right?
Yeah.
And and history is not going to be kind to him. I mean,
No.
here we have a man with a very unfortunate name, who's the junior senator, I believe. He might be the senior. I don't know if he's a junior or senior senator from Delaware. And I think the D in when it applies to the Delaware senator stands for dumbass or dunce. But yeah, this guy Coons was featured on Fox a few times as being a reasonable person, and it was pointed out that he was a graduate with Obama in the same Harvard Law School class, and
Really?
yeah, they're friendly. And he does project, on the one hand, an air of being sensible, but on the other hand, I would have punched Joe Biden in the face in the press conference if he put his hand on my 13-year-old daughter's
Oh,
chest.
was that this guy?
His
Oh my
daughter, yeah,
God. Oh my
yeah.
God.
Honestly, I would not tolerate that. That's a scarring move,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
and I don't get into fights, but
Hmm.
I would have definitely done it
But
in the press
Charles,
conference.
before we get too into today's conversation, I think people are already detecting that you're pretty fired up over this. So we're going to be doing the bulk of the show in the First Amendment forum, and I apologize to people who will be disappointed by that, but kind of too bad. Call YouTube with your complaints. Charles wants to be able to talk about this freely, and there's so many things that are protected by the First Amendment that YouTube will not allow us to discuss. So people are going to be able to watch today's show by becoming sponsors on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and of course on my new favorite platform, odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. And I love it, Charles, because it's its own independent video server, and sometimes it's working when other platforms aren't. It's got a great search engine on there, and it allows for people to become members where they can receive sponsor exclusive content. It's also the most economical way for people to sponsor Crowdsource the Truth, because I've been able to make the memberships as inexpensive as $4 per month, plus a small fee. People can choose to sponsor for whatever amount that they like. We're going to be talking all about Joe Biden and your predictions, my predictions for what we think is going to happen starting tomorrow.
Yeah, starting this evening probably
Hmm.
after he wakes up from his afternoon nap.
Yeah. Now, there's certainly a couple of things that we can discuss while we're still here in the YouTube hates the First Amendment forum. I was pretty surprised to see this, Charles. Donald Trump has brought a lot of civil suits. And, I've been getting, you might have heard, involved in some civil suits myself. This was a pretty shocking sanction amount. I've been told by many lawyers who've discouraged me from bringing sanctions against other people that it's usually a nominal amount, $100, $1,000 paid to
Right.
the court, basically to just show the lawyer, hey, you screwed up, and then here's some little punitive fine. But this isn't like $1 million.
Right. Well, and if you think through and contrast this with the Kelo decision, if you remember that was people who owned a property in somewhere in Connecticut, and they didn't want to sell, and ultimately the property was seized. And the argument
Wow.
there, which Trump supported and I do not support, was that the purpose of government is, in essence, the argument was the purpose of government is to collect the maximum tax revenue possible, and that this private owner of property was not engaging in the type of intensive development which would have given rise to far more property and income taxes. And for that reason, the state or the city or whatever it was has the right to take the property for, quote, fair compensation.
I don't like
That's,
that.
I don't like that at all. But this argument, you know, Hillary Clinton, in hindsight, we could say, I think, waged one of the most um, out.
Acrimonious?
Well, no. I believe, as just an individual, not an election law expert, I believe that she and her lawyers, Mark Elias and others, and now we're talking the 16 campaign,
Right.
15, 16 campaign. I think she, crystal clear that she negotiated a very aggressive deal with the Democratic Party that favored her campaign. I think Bernie supporters have alleged that she was not treated, she did not behave according to the rules and the laws that were applicable. And then we'll go in length to talk about the other reasons. But the point is, this type of a person who has the nerve, Hillary and Bill, these type of people who have the nerve to come into our state and our city and act as if the laws do not apply to them. And moreover, the laws can be turned against their enemies to the extent that they have been turned against Trump. What this does in the end is it drives rich people and private sector people the hell out of New York City and state. That's what it's
Yeah.
going to do. You see this precedent, and you're a New York City corporation, you're going to say, wait a minute, this
Yeah.
guy is, the judge is a political hack. How many other people are like this? I do not want to run the risk that a corrupt politician or a corrupt political family takes advantage of me the way they've taken advantage of Trump in protecting the Clintons. So this is not the end of the story by any means, this lawsuit.
Yeah. And then the New York Times article was also telling us that, because of this has a chilling effect on other litigation that Trump is doing. And it's interesting to see that there are a number of judges in the Southern District of New York who think it's their job to, stifle individuals' rights to access the courts. People know that I've got a beef with Valerie Caproni, and she sanctioned me by demanding that any litigation that I get involved in, I have to notify her from now until 2024. And it's also interesting to note that there was a case I was involved in Detroit where I spent 2 days driving there, and then miraculously when I got there, the hearing was canceled. I still don't know exactly how that happened. I'm sure it was not Judge Caproni calling the judge in Detroit and telling him to cancel the hearing, but it was a weird coincidence. I really object to the way some of these judges are behaving, Charles, and the deference that they're showing to Hillary Clinton is troubling.
It certainly is. It makes me wonder, this judge was appointed, I noticed, in 1997, which is precisely when the William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation, in theory, it was in practice incorporated, but then it began business then, as people know, with no bylaws. Effectively, its affairs were directed by fewer than 3 people and centrally involved lawyers who were protecting the Clintons or trying to protect the Clintons in matters that are not disclosed in the incorporation of this charity. So, what is the actual link between this judge and Bill Clinton? I think that these are fair questions. Did they go? I mean, did they go to law school together, for example? Is there some other connection? But justice, one of the things that explained the strength of the dollar beyond the petrodollar relationship was that compared to most other countries in the world, foreign investors could understand that they would be protected in litigation concerning their investments inside this country and their ability to pull capital and return out of this country. You see a decision like this in the Southern District of New York, which is where Wall Street is. And this is really going to be a corrosive decision, I think.
Well, but to be fair, this decision came down in Florida, but that it did chill the litigation in New York because they withdrew, remember, the lawsuit against the Attorney General. And I think that the lawyers basically force Trump to do that because they don't want to face $1 million sanction. So that's another problem that people need to kind of understand, is that even if you're Donald Trump, which he's almost like, the Kleenex. What do you call that when a brand name replaces, like Kleenex is what people say about tissues. Right. Donald Trump is almost like the brand name for a billionaire. A lawyer could just say, hey, we're withdrawing this suit because we don't want to get sanctioned, boom, and then Trump can't really do anything.
Right. Right. Yeah, so not good news at all. Mm-mm.
But just quickly on Middlebrooks, the judge that you were talking about, he was nominated by Bill Clinton on January 7th, 1997. Huh.
Where did he go to school?
Well, it wasn't really any law school that I had heard of. Bachelor of Science in Business Administration at the University of Florida in 1968. Juris Doctor from Frederick G. Levin College of Law at the University of Florida. That's one step above the Cracker Jack box.
But 68 is when Bill graduated from college, so maybe they knew each other some other way.
Well, this guy was student government president at law school, so that's very prestigious. What is going on with this guy? I don't understand. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, Electronic Frontier Foundation versus Shipping and Transit. Now, that Electronic Frontier Foundation, they're very involved in fighting the people who are talking about disinformation. And this is the second most notable case he's dealt with here. They've already updated it on Wikipedia. Isn't that interesting? That decision just came out a few days ago. It's interesting how they like to publicize these unfavorable decisions super quickly. You might recall, Charles, that the Emmys, there was an article in the Hollywood Reporter about their lawsuit against me, and that came out really quickly. I think they want this negative publicity, and it's a major reason why they're doing all these lawsuits. There was something that just came up about Mark Elias turning the tables. Here it is. So it's saying that this is super interesting. I have suspected for a long time, and I know you've heard me say this ad nauseum, that the Durham case is lawfare. Here, CNN reported back in May that Mark Elias and Hillary Clinton's campaign lawyer turned the tables on Durham to air Democratic grievances about the 2016 election. Interesting.
It is indeed. So I don't know how much more time.
Well, we've got about 2 more minutes here before we make our transition over to the sponsor exclusive segment in the First Amendment Forum. Anything you'd like to take us out with?
Well, we could. I'd like to cover the World Economic Forum. I will use a different word in the forum than forum. In some depth. So I guess we got to punt that. But that was, I think, perhaps the last substantive meeting of the World Economic Forum, something we'll explain later.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with you. There's been a lot of great reporting coming out of Davos. I was watching Ezra Levant and his associates from Rebel News questioning Bourla from Pfizer. And really, I think one of the most interesting interviews and interesting pieces of news to come out of there was the Rebel News interview of Greta Thunberg, who, I mean, they really revealed her to be nothing more than a 19-year-old girl, basically, who doesn't seem to know much of anything about which she regularly pontificates and cannot answer reasonable questions when asked.
I don't think she could hold a job for more than a month, and maybe not even that long, at Starbucks as a barista. She's a moron.
Exactly. I think she definitely would be bounced right out of Waffle Iron the second they started throwing chairs at her, or whatever that place is called. Waffle House.
That could be a great game show, right?
Yeah.
Put different people in. Can you stop? Deflect the chair. Oh, this person got 6 out of 9 chairs. They go to the semifinals.
They would just be like, "How long can you survive at the Waffle House?" Greta would be bounced on day 1. Waffle House Wendy would do it. These reporters tried to go to, she wasn't having any of it. No, I don't think that's what happened. They asked her reasonable questions. Look at the spin they're putting on it, Charles. This tall guy in particular, he's British in the back. He asked her super politely, incredibly thoughtful questions. He was, I think, being sensitive to the fact that she's a young woman, much physically smaller than him, and he's British, so it always sounds polite, even when you're being a dick. And she just wouldn't answer.
Well, she's a front. I mean,
Yes.
she's played her role. You know, she's
Yeah.
like she's I think distantly related to Mikey. You know, Mikey likes it. Greta doesn't like it.
They said somewhere that she's autistic or something, and I think she did maybe, obviously, I'm not a doctor, but she displayed some behaviors that might be that. She was laughing when they asked her certain things. But some people just do that. I find in Japan, that's a pretty common thing.
Right.
When you get super pissed off about, hey, where's the money? They're laughing, and I'm like, why are you laughing? This is making it much worse. They don't get
Right.
that.
Exactly.
But anyway, Charles, we'll be back in 5 minutes. People can join us on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and odyssey.com. We're going to be just letting it rip in the First Amendment forum. So join us in 5 minutes for that. We'll be right back. Thanks.